Good morning, students. Today, let me continue with this class Amphibia Part 2. And today's title of the topic is Neoteny and Endemic Anurans of Western Ghats. You know what is neoteny is? Neoteny is nothing but pedogenesis, which is also called pedomorphosis. It is also called juvenilization, which means that delaying or slowing down of the physiological development of an organism or an animal. The term neoteny was coined by Julius Coleman, and it is the derivative of a German term neoteny. Neotenic animal is said to be young but old or old but young. So very popular and very meaningful statement about this neoteny. So neoteny is nothing but an animal which is young but old or old but young. Actually, there are two aspects are involved in neoteny, that is retention of juvenile or larval characters or body development, and second one, acceleration of sexual maturation. For example, certain amphibian species in which development is arrested so that the larval form and aquatic habitat persists as the organism attains sexual maturity and become capable of reproduction. So though they are in larval stage without undergoing the complete phase of metamorphosis, their gonads are going to ripe or mature and they are capable of reproduction. In some species, only a few morphological features are retarded, but the number of features retarded may differ from species to species. Neoteny has been observed in all salamander families, in which it seems to be a survival mechanism in aquatic environments only of mountains and hills with little food and in particular with little iodine. Some species of birds also exhibit partial neoteny, and the males of bird species like Chiroxifia linearis and Chiroxifia caudate retain their juvenile plumages, that is, the feathers, into adulthood, but eventually lose them once they are fully matured. And some species of insects also exhibit neoteny. Many species of salamanders and amphibians in general show neoteny because of the environment they live in. And it is generally observed that neotenous individuals have a higher fitness value than those that metamorphose into adult form. Because the energy required for metamorphosis is too high for the individual's fitness, and neotenous individual utilize the resources more easily and efficiently than a non-neotenic individual. Coming to types of neoteny. First one, total neoteny. Here the larvae attain full sexual maturity and it breeds like the adults. Examples, Nectarus, Triton, Amphiuma, Siren, Axolotl, etc. Second one, partial neoteny. The larvae attain sexual maturity but does not breed. So here the metamorphosis is postponed. Example, tadpoles of Buffo, Hyla, Rana, etc. Third one, permanent neoteny. Here the adult type exhibits larval characters like external gills, forelimbs, and rudimentary eyes. Example, Proteus, Typhlomonge, Pseudobranchus, etc. Fourth one, obligatory neoteny. In some animals, neoteny is a rule, and metamorphosis cannot be induced in such animals by artificial means. Coming to fifth one, facultative neoteny. In some animals, neoteny is optional. So the very name itself suggests facultative means optional. And sometimes the animal may undergo metamorphosis by losing all its larval characters, and it occurs in individual organisms or entire population as a result of environmental factors. Example, axolotl larva. Sixth one, artificial neoteny. It is a type of neoteny in which neoteny is induced in the laboratory by preventing metamorphosis, and it is by removing pituitary gland or by antithyroid effects, and by this method giant larvae can be produced. Example, toads and frogs, etc. Coming to factors causing neoteny. First one, pituitary glands. Due to lesser or hyposecretion of TSH, that is thyroid stimulating hormone, the thyroid gland will not be stimulated and metamorphosis is prevented. Second one, hyposecretion of thyroxine, due to which the metamorphosis is postponed and induces neoteny. The third factor, sensitivity of the tissues. In axolotl larvae, the tissue are less sensitive to respond to the effect of thyroxine. Fourth one, low temperature. It inactivates the thyroid and thus prevents the metamorphosis. For example, Ambystoma tigrinum remains neotenous in the cold waters of Rocky Mountains but undergo metamorphosis in the warm waters of the plains. Fifth factor, lack of iodine. It reduces the activity of thyroid gland and thereby decreases the production of thyroxine hormone and prevents metamorphosis. So if there is no metamorphosis, there is no transformation of larva into adult. Sixth one, excess of food. In some amphibians, excess of food makes them to obese and inactive and thus induces neotenous condition. The last factor, heterochrony. It refers to lesser or reduced growth rate in some organs and fasten the growth of other organs, particularly the gonads, thus inducing them to reproduce even in larval conditions. Neoteny in axolotl larva. A sexually mature axolotl larva at age of 18 to 24 months ranges in length from 15 to 45 centimeters. Axolotl possess features typical of salamander larvae, including external gills and a caudal fin extending from behind the head to the vent. Their heads are wide and their eyes are lidless, and their limbs are underdeveloped and possesses long, thin digits. Males are identified by their swollen cloaca lined with papillae, while females are noticeable for their wider bodies full of eggs. Axolotl have barely visible vestigial teeth which would have developed during metamorphosis. 3 pairs of external gills are used for respiration, although buccal pumping, that is gulping air from the surface, may also be used in order to provide oxygen to their lungs. So this is the picture of axolotl larva, wherein you can clearly make out the larval characters like the presence of external gills, the 3 pairs of external gills, and you can also observe the adult characters like the presence of fore and hind limbs, and the other larval character is presence of caudal fin. Okay, so these are some features that you can observe in an axolotl larva. Axolotl larva is the larva of Ambystoma tigrinum, that is the tiger salamander. It is found in ponds, rivers and lakes of America and Mexico. Recently, it is considered under threatened species by IUCN, that is International Union for Conservation of Nature and Natural Resources. It is carnivorous and it feeds on worms, insects and small fishes too. And it exhibits facultative neoteny, that is in the cold waters, that is in higher altitudes, it exhibits neoteny, while in the waters of plain areas, it metamorphoses normally and start reproducing. It is used as a model organism to study neoteny by researchers and thus are bred in large numbers in captivity. These axolotl larvae are easy to breed when compared to other salamanders, and experiments have been made successfully by researchers to break neoteny by means of supplementing with iodine to the waters they inhabit, or by supplementing iodine with food, or by injecting iodine directly. Now coming to the next topic, endemic Anaran species of Western Ghats. You know our Western Ghat, it is one of the hotspots of biodiversity, and India has about only 4 hotspots, and in the world there are about 38 such hotspots. You know what are hotspots? Hotspots are the areas which accommodate the exceptional number of endemic species of animals and plants. So, endemicity or the endemism, you know the meaning of the term. Endemic means which are restricted to a particular place or habitat. Western Ghats is known for rich endemism of frogs and toads. About 179 amphibian species have been recorded in Western Ghats, and 93 anurans are endemic in this Western Ghat regions. Most of these endemic species are threatened because of habitat loss, fragmentation, and disruption of the habitat quality. About 87% of all Western Ghat frogs are endemic and found nowhere else on this planet. So this is what some of the important features of the endemic Anaran species of Western Ghats. So here is a table which shows you that in the world there are about 4,800 Anaran species are there, endemic Anaran species are there, and in India about 153 are there, and out of them about 93 of them are found endemic in Western Ghats alone. So that shows clearly that Western Ghats are the homes for such kind of endemic varieties of anurans as well as the other varieties of frogs. There are so many such endemic species of frogs or amphibians are there in this Western Ghat area, but as far as your syllabus is concerned, you will have to study two of them. One is Nyctibatrachus and another is Nactibatrachus. Let me start with Nyctibatrachus. So here the members of the genus Nyctibatrachus are robust-bodied frogs that range in size from small, having a snout vent length of 13 lesser than 13 mm in Nyctibatrachus robin morei, that is to relatively large up to 84 mm, that is in case of Nyctibatrachus karnatakensis. So it is very evident here that these are very small sized frogs, and these are can be placed on the palm to see them clearly. The especially small species of this Nyctibatrachus are among the smallest of all Indian frogs, and they have a concealed tympanum, dorsum with longitudinal skin folds, femoral glands, and expanded finger and toes and on the discs. They occur near streams in hilly evergreen forests and are nocturnal, found only during nighttime, and most species have amplexus. You know what is amplexus is? Amplexus is nothing but the act of the sitting of the male frog on the female frog before reproduction. So you know the term copulation. So during copulation, the male sex introduces its copulatory organ into the female reproductive tract, and that event is called copulation or mating. But here there is no such thing is observed, just the male frog sits on the female frog and presses it tightly so that the female releases the eggs into the water body. So this act is amplexus, which is entirely different from that of copulation. But Nyctibatrachus humani does not undergo amplexus, and in this species the male moves over the eggs after the female has deposited them in the water body. The first example among this Nyctibatrachus species, that is Nyctibatrachus camphelloensis, which is commonly called as night frog and found in tropical moist lowland forest and rivers, and it make a very distinct call, just like an insect called cricket insect. And it is not seen for almost 75 years and rediscovered very recently, and the first it was discovered by the herpetologist, that is C.R. Narayan Rao in 1937. The second important species, Nyctibatrachus dattatreyensis, it is called so as commonly called as Dattatreya night frog because it is found in the area called Dattatreya Peta in Chikmagalur district of Karnataka. The upper surface is reddish black or stone black with two yellow lateral bands, found in the Shola forest around the Dattatreya Peta in Chikmagalur district. In daytime, the frog prefers to hide below small boulders and damp leaf litter along the slow flowing stream. It is still known only in the part of Western Ghats, not found elsewhere. Third one, Nyctibatrachus grandis, commonly called Dayanand night frog because the person who described them for the first time by name Dayanand, and it grows to the size of a baseball and lives from rock to rock, and they have a unique owl-like call, and the males defend the egg clutches aggressively. That means male parental care is clearly visible here in Nyctibatrachus grandis. Coming to the second important species of such anuran species, Nasica batrachus. The body of Nasica batrachus sahyadriensis appears robust and bloated, and it is relatively rounded compared to others. Their flattened body assists them to cling to submerged rocks and boulders, which essentially help them to fight strong currents, allowing them to remain near stream banks where they typically reside. Its arms and legs splay out in the standard anuran body form. Compared to other frogs, Nasica batrachus sahyadriensis has a small head and an unusual pointed snout. Adults are typically dark purplish grey in color. Males are about a third of the length of the females, that is, males are smaller. The frog spends most of its life underground and surfaces only during the monsoon for a period of 2 weeks for mating purpose. With few field scientists out in the field during the rainy season, the species was discovered and studied only in recent times. Males emerge to call beside temporary rainwater streams. They mount females and grip them, that is amplexus, along the vertebral column. Around 3,000 eggs are laid in a rock pool, and the tadpoles metamorphose after around 100 days. So the incubation period is of 100 days. And unlike many other burrowing species of frogs that emerge and feed above the ground, this species has been found to forage or feed underground, feeding mainly on the termites using its tongue and a special buccal groove. So this is all about this second variety of anuran species found in Western Ghats. As I said earlier, there are many other anuran species of frogs are there which are found to be endemic there, but as far as your syllabus is concerned, you will have to study only these two, that is Nyctibatrachus and Nasica batrachus. So with this, I have completed today's class. Stay home, stay safe. Good luck.